So I guess what we'll do is we'll go ahead and we'll get started with the debate. Well, we'll give it about 2 more minutes. We're gonna get started with the debate. Now, I was thinking about this, Johnny and Jamila, because yesterday when we were doing our discussion, we actually talked kind of about the similar thing that we were going to talk to you about in the debate. So I'm not sure if people are going to think that it's a duplicate, or um, I don't know. I guess we could try and see what happens because we talked about this for a long time yesterday. It wasn't in a debate format, but we still kind of talked about it. I don't know. What do you guys think? What's Uh, no, actually, no. You know what? Well, some. I mean, Moyu was there. Moyu's always there. I give him credit. Moyu is very, very consistent.
Thank you so
Uh,
much.
Seni was there.
Sure.
Let me see who else. I think maybe that was it. And of course, Jamila and myself. But we didn't have the other people here, so we have a choice. We can go ahead and we could do the debate. The topic for the debate was keeping your future as a mystery is better than being able to see your future. Okay, so that was going to be the debate topic. It's somewhat related to the discussion we were having yesterday, except the difference is that this would be in a debate format, so you would pick a team. So again, we can go with that topic. You guys want? You guys want to go with that topic?
But you haven't gave us the
Sure,
R yet.
sure. Oh yeah, well, we didn't have the other option. Yeah,
Well,
sure.
the
We have.
the the other, I guess the other option is we could come up with a topic that's somewhat related, but it's different than that. I guess would be open to any feedback of an alternative topic that's kind of related to the theme.
I think for me, if you can just come up with a new topic, it is better because we kind of talked about this stuff last night. So yeah, if you can come up with a new topic, it is okay. But if you don't have or don't buy, just still we can do about this.
Okay, well, are there any suggestions for a topic? You know what? I've got an idea. I've got an idea. Okay, okay. Here, I've got an interesting way of modifying this topic. So, let's say you have the option of traveling. Well, let me think about this again. Since we're talking about time travel, we're talking about going back in time or going forward in time. For example, one of our topics on Thursday, one of the speaking topics was about what things you would bring with you if you went to the past, right? Um, I don't know, Johnny, Jamila, do you guys have any ideas?
I
Are you going to talk about the time travel?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Hmm.
Okay, just go ahead.
Well, we wanted to have a debate kind of format, so we wanted to pick. Huh? Go ahead, Johnny. Uh-huh.
um there is some station topic that I find different answers is that if you back in time have the power to change something when the Holocaust happened, but knowing that because of that we have a lot of things to any of the technology we have today is because of that things that human rights and even the do you still change it? I answer some.
So for you, what you're saying is that if somebody were to be able to go back in time and change a major event or have influence over a major event, knowing that there would be consequences to today, would they still change that event?
Right.
Right?
Exactly.
Uh, okay, so if you go back in time and had the opportunity to change, and I'm writing this down, had an opportunity to change one event. So one event, right? Uh, what would it be, right? Okay, so let me. Okay, so I want to change one event and why. Okay, you guys. So this would be kind of a this would be a discussion and not necessarily debate. So do you guys understand what we're going to talk about? Do you guys like that?
It is great. I really liked it.
Okay. So if you could go back and change one event in the history, okay, just think in terms of the history, whether it would be I don't know, World War II, whether it be, maybe the assassination of somebody, one major event in the world that had a large impact on world history. Uh, what would that thing be? What would be that event that you would change, and why would you change it? Okay, so that's the topic. Okay. Does that make sense? Let me type it. I'll type it here. That way we can make sure we're on the same page. Okay. So the topic is okay, and this will be a discussion, not a debate. Uh, if you had the opportunity to go to the past and change one world event, i.e., World War II, assassination of, maybe the assassination of somebody that was trying to do good, whatever it is, okay? World War One, yeah, assassination of political figure, etc. Would you change it, and why would you change it? Okay. In other words, what would be the impact if it was changed, right? Okay. I don't know. We'll see if this is going to be too common. I think people should be able to do it. Won't be the consequence. Okay, so that's going to be the topic. If you had the opportunity to go to the past and change one world event, would you change it, and why would you change it? What would be the impact? Okay, what would be the consequence? Okay, so that's going to be the topic we're going to discuss. Right? Hopefully everybody gets it, what we're going to talk about. All right. So before we start, just take a moment to think about it for a few minutes, because this is new. So we'll again, we'll give everybody just a few minutes to think about it. It's kind of actually an interesting question.
Hello, Richard. Hello, everyone. How are you?
Hey, how are you? Hold on.
Fine, thanks. Long time no see.
Yes, long time no see. What have you been up to?
Well, I've been busy working. Yeah.
Well, you just recently, what country did you go to?
Well, I was in Turkey, but I'm back.
Okay. Okay.
Oh,
So you were in Turkey.
Turkey.
Yeah.
Oh, is he Fyodor?
Huh?
Is he Fyodor?
No, this is Shadam.
Okay, another guy.
Yes.
Okay. Sorry.
Another guy.
So, Richard, how do you know that I was in another country? Maybe a common friend?
You know what? No, I'm trying to remember. I thought I don't know. Maybe I just guessed. I don't know.
Yeah, maybe. Maybe not.
I thought that sometime in the past you said that you were going to go somewhere. Maybe not. Maybe I'm wrong. I don't know.
Well, yes. Actually, I'm thinking about going to another country forever, like immigrating to another
Yeah,
country.
yeah,
But
yeah.
it was just a short trip, like several days. I was in Turkey and now I'm back.
Oh, was that the first time you've been to Turkey?
Yeah, it was my first time. Yeah.
How did you enjoy it? Did you like it?
Yeah, it was totally different than my country. The environment, culture, regulations, rules, and yeah, it was. It was
But what is your
good.
original country?
My country is Iran.
Oh, okay,
Yeah.
okay.
And sorry, I don't see your nickname.
Hey, Rich,
SL.
hey, everybody. Hey, going on?
Yeah, yeah. That's it's Sally. Sally. Shut up.
Sally,
Hello,
yeah.
I'm
Sally. Yeah,
sorry.
yeah. Sally's from Hong Kong.
Sally, yeah.
Okay.
I'm using mobile and I just see two letters of your nickname. I don't know why.
Okay. So, hey, Jamie, how are you?
Hey, pretty good.
Hello, Jimmy.
Sad day for the country, but today's the funeral, right?
Yeah, for Barbara
Yeah.
Bush. Yeah.
Yeah. A couple days ago, a wife of a former president died. She was 92. Today's the funeral. It's gonna be televised. Are you gonna watch it, Rick?
Yeah. Yeah. I've got it on background. I've got it on
Yeah, me too.
background.
It's not till 12, but yeah,
Yeah.
they're already starting a memorial tour.
Yeah. Okay, so the topic, let me repeat it one more time.
Okay.
The topic is going to be, and I pasted it, if you had the opportunity to go to the past and change one world event, such as a war, the assassination of a political figure, etc., maybe the invention of the internet, that would be an event, right? Would you change it, and why would you change it? Okay, what would be the consequence of changing it? For example, if I said the invention of the internet, obviously there'd be large consequences,
Yeah.
right? So we wouldn't be talking right now, maybe. Okay. So
Yeah.
again, think about it for a quick second. I'm gonna leave you guys in the hands of Johnny and Jamie, and I'll be right back. When I
Yeah,
get
thanks.
back, we'll go ahead and get started. So think about what you want to talk about. Think about an event that you think is really important that happened
Ooh,
in the
there are a
history.
couple.
And okay, Johnny, I'll be right back.
Hey, Johnny, guys. What's up? Don't tell me it's warm in Argentina or I'll kill you.
Why?
Don't tell me it's warm in Argentina or I'll come down. What?
There?
Don't tell me it's yeah. Don't tell me it's warm in Argentina or I'll come down and beat you up. I'm kidding. It's freezing up here.
I think I'm gonna.
Ugh. Yeah, thanks. Yeah. Okay. That's what else we have here? Yeah.
Hello.
Hello. Hey, Moyo. Hey, Mary. Hi, everybody.
Hello, Jamie.
Oh, what could I change? Well, I can think of one thing. I'm sure everyone will want to do that.
It's liberations. Tell me what events adding add.
Well, let's see. Emancipation, founding the United States, emancipation of slavery, assassination of Lincoln, assassination of Kennedy, World War One. I'm gonna do Kennedy.
What about you, Sally?
Yeah, Kennedy's assassination.
About what?
What do you think were
There are too many.
Major event about what?
Of history.
The world history? You mean just go back to change something in
No,
time?
just
Yeah.
tell me what
Oh,
you
okay,
think
okay.
was made. Let's name the.
The major event, maybe the World War II.
Yeah, either of them. Yeah.
The World, I mean the World War II.
What else?
World War II.
Maybe my favorite painter, Van Gogh. He died. He was dead early.
That early? Who?
Van Gogh, Vincent Van Gogh.
Vincent Van Gogh.
Yes, the Dutch painter.
Yeah, but
Yes.
he killed himself. No one else. He killed himself. No one killed him. He killed himself. He committed suicide.
Event.
Maybe you can convince him not to do it.
What else?
Maybe just. Let me see. Maybe
The crucifixion? Nah, that's too big. Nah.
maybe the election, the politic election about the president.
Russian Revolution. You mean?
Just about the Hong Kong leader. I mean the election about the Hong Kong leader, but we cannot control it anyway. And actually, actually, I don't want to talk about something about politics. But when you think about that topic, you just talk about it.
Can you think of something
Hello, Johnny.
older than that? Hello.
Yes, I already think so.
There are too many, Johnny. There are too many.
Name it.
I thought about three things. So the first thing is when the French people invaded Algeria.
Of course.
The second event is two events in World War II, One and Two. The first event is the Holocaust of the Jewish people.
Of course, yeah, definitely. That's another good one.
The third event, it's the nuclear bomb of Hiroshima and
Nagasaki. Don't forget Nagasaki.
I'm going to talk about those particular part of time.
What other major events can you identify?
This is Washington, mind.
Can you think of something?
I think.
For me, I had.
In America.
I'm from Africa, so really, I'm going to talk about colonization. That's in Africa. That must be the first topic.
Mm-hmm.
The main event.
Yeah, I think more it was civilians to go over to Africa and take your people. That was extremely stupid.
Yeah, that's what I'm going to talk about. Especially in Africa, it had a big event in everything: economic, the mindset, education, everything. Colonization was affected, even the peace and security, because you found it like a country like my own, Somalia. After colonization, after those guys come, they divided the country into the 5 different areas. Some of the Somalians now they are in Kenya, others they are Ethiopia, Djibouti, and Somalia. So through that we had many wars with other countries. So yeah, the hostility that created is so big. Even now, we believe we have still problem with
Okay.
that.
What other major events can you think of in there
All
any
right, hey,
other?
Johnny, have you already started?
No,
Are
no,
you
just
No. We're going through.
asking them what
okay.
they think
It's
of major
freshen
events.
up our ideas.
Okay. Okay.
What about you, Rick? How many major?
Well, a lot, because I read a lot of history.
Name some.
Uh, so I think there are. Well, name some. I think there are the religious aspects of different faiths.
Crucifixion.
I think there are the Crusades, in the in Jerusalem. I think there are different events, famine in throughout history. I think there are genocide situations that happen in different parts of the world. Genocides, whether Rwanda or other places. I think there are obviously the political aspect of people that have been proponents of change, positive change, that were assassinated. There are a lot. There are a lot. So I think it just depends. I think there's a you can look at it from inventions, the events from
But
an
it's just
invention stand.
one major event. I think after I went travel to Germany,
There are
people
too
always.
many. Mark.
What's that, Sally? Go ahead, Sally. What's that?
I mean, people always think about if Hitler get killed, then the World
Oh,
War II will not
happen.
appear, will not
Yeah, will
exist.
not happen.
Yes,
Yeah.
and also about the is it the truth?
Yeah, the Holocaust.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, the Holocaust will not happen.
Mhm.
But actually, when I went to Germany, I just went to many places in Germany, and then I see the country in the last 1,000 year,
Mhm.
even before Hitler was
Mhm.
born, and then there are many tons of Holocaust of hundreds or thousands of
Mhm.
cases of the Jews get killed in the past 1,000 years in Germany. So I think even though Hitler wasn't born in Germany, and then I think there will be another guy. There will be another guy just to
Mhm.
replace Hitler, and then the World War II will
Trump.
just keep happening because after you see the history
Mhm.
about Germany, and then you just know the country, the people, they just hate the Jews.
Yeah.
Not too many people.
Well, that's what we call. There are some people that,
Prejudice.
well, nationalists.
Yeah, yeah.
People that feel so strongly from a nationalist standpoint. Well, why don't we go ahead? Since you guys had the opportunity to discuss with Johnny some general ideas about things. Why don't we go ahead and get started in the order that people joined us? So we're going to go in order, so it's nice and organized and logical. So, Mary, you were the first person here.
Yes.
Okay, so tell us about, from your perspective, what major events in the history have happened that you think, if different, would have affected, the future today and the future.
Affect teacher.
Yeah,
Affect the
yeah,
future.
yeah, yeah.
Affect the future. Affect us.
Well, yeah. So in other words, and for example, in China, and you could talk about it from a regional standpoint, because I think sometimes, maybe our knowledge is pretty, maybe focused on the areas we. So for example, you could talk about a policy, for example, in China. You could talk about something larger, that you think from a global standpoint, right? So
Hmm.
what do you think? What major world event and from the past, or I guess you could say policy as well, uh, happened that had a large consequence? If you could change it, what would you change, and what would be the impact? You get it?
Yes, but this topic is too big for me since I'm a small person.
Well, use your
I know it's too deep.
imagination. Use your imagination. Okay.
I would like to ask if the ones who are not
I'm
speaking can mute their
embarrassed.
microphone because there are a lot of noise.
Sure.
Maybe it's for me. Just
Okay.
wait.
It's so difficult for me to talk about it. What event? You know, I hate wars in the world. And of course, World War One, World War Two, two of them. I do not want even to mention it. Uh, hey, both of them killed so many people around the world, and both of them made disasters for human beings. Uh, nationalist sounds good, but actually it's impossible. And even some large countries can't govern themselves well. So I don't know how can I can't think about it that much since I if you ask me what event in my life if I can travel to the past to change, I would have a lot to to talk.
Well,
Right.
well, well. Yeah, no. Then do it from your own perspective. If you can't really think of something, talk about from your own past. Then that's okay. That's fine. You know.
Okay, thank you. So I will not follow this topic, and right, I can travel to my past, my
Yeah, travel.
history,
Yeah, travel
my
to your past if
my
it's
family,
easier.
right?
Uh,
The history of my family, right?
yeah, that's fine. That's fine.
Okay, okay, thank you. If I can really travel to and the history of my family, probably I won't travel that long, and just have a year. Um, but maybe the day before my mom passed away, on that day, my husband even wanted me to go to my hometown where my mom lived. But on that day, because I had something to do, I thought I could visit my mom the following day. So we didn't go to visit my mom. And the second day, I received a phone call from one of my sisters who told me something bad happened to my mom. Of course, since my mom was so old, she was 87 years old. When she said something bad happened, of course, I knew something was really serious. I I didn't ask what happened, but I knew what would happen to my mom. Even she was great. She was everything was regularly for her. She could take good care of herself. She was um, in good condition. But for her age, I could imagine what might happen. So we went to my hometown and saw my mom was even faint. So on that day, if I could travel, I would find something might happen to my mom since my mom had a brain um, hemorrhage. And of course, the following day, she must have some symptoms. Since my major was um, Chinese medicine, so I would be able to find what would be the signs of this disease. And when I went to my hometown, one of my um, cousins told me my mom had a headache. She thought she just had a cold, so she took some medicine. If I were there, of course, I would know what would happen. And since two of my sisters are doctors in my family, and I could call my sister and drive her to the hospital, of course, we would be able to prevent something bad happening to my mom. But there's no medicine to cure with my regretness. I I do regret very much. Of course, if we could take her to the hospital, nothing would happen. And even now, she is still alive, and she has always been in good condition. If that didn't happen, of course, last Chinese New Year would be a happy one, and that was the first Chinese New Year. My family, I can say, far apart in different cities. In the past, when my mom was alive, we all tried to get together in my hometown to have a happy New Year celebrations. We were feeling so good. But last year, a few days ago, a few days before Chinese New Year, we had a small reunion, family reunion. Just one of my brother and two of my sisters who live in the same city had a small reunion. But we did feel something we missed. We didn't feel as well as in the past. Of course, from now on, my family, we won't have my mother around anymore, and we miss her very much. Okay, that's all what I want to say. Thank you.
Okay. All right. Well, that's something like that is very personal. So thank you for sharing that. That's a very personal topic. And I said, thank you for sharing that with us. And, we could tell, or I could tell, I know at least by listening to you how much that you miss her. So thank you for sharing that. Okay.
Thank you. I should cry.
Okay. I don't want to for that. I don't want to ask any questions. Let me actually. I do have. What is your happiest memory of her?
Happiest memory of her.
Mm-hmm.
That's a
that when you think about her, that puts a smile on your face, or that makes you laugh. What's your happiest memory of her?
My mom, actually, she was a Buddhist, and of course, most times she didn't like to talk to us very much, but she just wanted us to believe what she believed, right? So most time when she talked to us, she also tried to say some good words like good health and make fortune in your future, right? Just something like that, She has never been She has never been educated, so she didn't know so much. But since she is my mom, of course we love her, right?
Yeah. So a happy memory was because she was Buddhist. She always tried to get you guys to believe what she believed, right?
Yes.
She sounds like my mom. Okay. Okay. Well, thank you for sharing that. Okay.
Excuse me, can I ask some question?
Yeah, if it's up to Mary, yeah, go
Sure.
ahead.
Where are you from?
China, Hunan province. Hunan of China.
Oh, okay.
That's far away from where you live. Okay.
Okay. What is your name?
What's my name?
Yes.
My name is Mary here.
So you are married, but there is another Chinese girl?
Chinese girl?
Just only you are the Chinese?
Probably. No, I'm the only one. If you think you're not one.
Well, no, we also have I think Mary, she's getting confused with Christina, who is from Vietnam.
Oh, Christina is not from China.
Yeah,
she's
she's from
Vietnam.
Vietnam.
Okay. Sorry. Because I just make the mistake. Sorry. So
Chin chop,
you are
chin chop,
from.
chin chop.
So you
I
are
Chin chop,
from.
chin chop.
right? Sorry.
Yeah, yeah. So she's
So
from
you are from Wuhan.
Ni hao, Mary. Ni hao, ma.
yeah. So no, she's. I don't think you're from. No, she's not from Wuhan. She doesn't live in Wuhan,
I do.
right?
Wuhan is in Hubei, not Hebei.
Hubei, yeah, I know Hubei.
Is the capital city of Hubei.
I've heard of it.
Oh, okay. So where are you from?
Chenzhou, a small town, a small district.
Can you speak Mandarin? Actually, I can understand Mandarin.
Sure, of course.
他想你说中文 Mary
说中文
是的
对，我听得懂中文。
啊，你能听懂中文？我们可以说中文吧，其他人可能就听不懂了。
我知道，但是我不知道你说的那个地方是在哪里。
我是那个湖南的，湖南郴州。
Okay.
Translation there?
是湖南。Okay.
Yeah.
Okay,
She was asking what part of Hunan province is she?
Okay.
Yes, because I just don't get the where is it.
Of Hunan province. So that's why I said it's close to Hong Kong, not far away. We are not neighbors, but close.
Yeah, like Rick and I are neighbors. We're from the same country, but different coast.
Yeah.
Okay. So let's go ahead and go on to Christina. And by the way, I guess if anybody wants to learn some Chinese, you have Mary here and you have Sully here. If you want to learn Cantonese,
no. I don't know how to teach people language.
Okay, well, you could teach them Cantonese, okay?
Oh boy.
All right.
Cantonese? I think there is no people they are interested in that language.
I am.
Oh, really? Okay.
Okay. So let's go ahead now. Thank you, Mary, again for sharing that. That was a very touching story, and thank you for sharing that. Let's go to Christina. So Christina, tell us about what you would change, what major world event would you think was important, had large consequences, and what would you change?
Is Christina still here?
Christina, xin chào.
Yes, hi, xin chào.
Yeah.
Did you hear what I said, Christina?
Yes,
Okay,
yes.
go ahead.
I heard.
Wow.
Trời ơi, con lạy mẹ.
Anybody speak Vietnamese? Where'd she go?
Ôi trời mẹ ơi, mẹ đi sang bên kia nói chuyện điện thoại đi.
Oh, talking to somebody.
Sorry. Yeah. In the past, I think the event I remember the most is wow. The time when I visited my old friend. She's in the north of my country, and she came here. She came to Hanoi to have a short studying about maybe 3 weeks, and we and we studied together, and we were very happy because she's the people she's the person who have the many same opinions in lifestyle or or um, or the individual opinions about our studying. And um, I remember one time when we have a group discussion, and I remember we have a debate discussion. Yeah, like this evening, and and I and this friend were talk very much, and I regret to shout her um, because because of the of the simple reason that she doesn't have the same opinion with me, and um, after minutes later, although I want to say the apologize to her, but I can't because I thought that I was right. And after 3 days, when she came back to Ho Chi Minh City, and I feel so sad, and I wish that if I can tell if I can say sorry with her sooner, I think our friendship will be better. And um, and now I wish that if I have her address, I will take the flight to Ho Chi Minh City, and and say with her everything that I'm thinking. That's all about my story that I want to share with all of you. Thanks for listening.
Okay, thank you, Christina. Both you and Mary brought up something very personal, and I think that we often when it comes to people, when it comes to relationships, friends, etc., we often look into the past and regret with things maybe we said with somebody, maybe we didn't get a chance to say goodbye to them, before they passed away, or we had an argument with them and we never had a chance to make it what we call make it right. I think that that's very common for a lot of people, that they have this regret, and they want to find a chance to make things right again. You'll find a lot of people, you know, feel those ways. So thank you for sharing that. It's very personal, and thank you for sharing that. Okay.
Thank you.
Well, really, but now you know naive I am, right?
What's that? What's that,
I
Mary?
said, oh, you know how naive I am, right?
How naive you are?
Mary, you're not naive, but not by a long shot. No,
Well,
Yes.
why do you say that, Mary? Why would you say that?
no.
My word is so small. Just my
Well,
friend.
you know what? No, but that's we our our world is whatever we want it to be. We don't, the the people, how do I say this? I'm trying, the people that have these international presence, think about people that are recognized throughout the world, right? People like, Muhammad Gandhi, right?
Mahatma Gandhi,
Or other people, right? You
Barack
know,
Obama.
they maybe they have, but you know what? somebody, their life is no more important, their world is no larger
Mhm.
than your world, because you know what, it's relative. It's
Yeah.
all matters about what you care about, and you know what, there's nothing wrong with that. That's fine. That's fine. That's perfectly
I didn't
fine.
say
You know.
something was wrong. I just
Yeah.
said, now you know how small my word is.
Well, you know,
I
I think
am.
that's not a bad thing. That's
Hey,
Anyway,
Christine.
thank,
Christina, did
thank,
you see my joke? Did you see my joke, Christina?
I said thank you for putting up with me.
Yeah.
yeah.
Christina, did you see my joke? Christina,
Christine,
hello.
The
Jamie,
land, the
yeah.
land, the land of the wind.
Yeah, because most of Vietnam's last, most people in Vietnam have the last name Nguyen. I think
Yeah.
about like 20%.
I don't know if she's still there, Jamie.
Christina, hello.
Probably she muted her microphone since you can see her family member probably are in the same room, right?
Yeah,
Probably.
yeah, I think so. I think
Mm.
so. Okay, but let's go. So, Johnny, you were next, unless you want to go last.
Yes, that would
Johnny?
be
You hear me?
exciting.
Oh, so.
Oh yeah,
Exciting speech.
Yeah, we hear you.
yeah, we
Uh-huh.
hear you. We hear.
Uh-huh.
I have been all ears.
All ears.
I
Yes.
I guess the event
So,
that I would beat of Spartacus. Me. I choose that event is because since he was defeated, slavery is not abolished, and because that's what he's trying to do, and that was his last battle, and lost. And because of that, we still had more than 2,000 years of slavery until Lincoln came right to do 50 thing.
1863 was emancipation. 1860, not
So
telling you. 1863 was emancipation. 1865 was the abolition.
so it's almost 2,000 years of slavery. So if I could go back and Spartacus defeated, maybe slavery would have been abolished much earlier. That would change the life of a lot of people. Not sure what other consequences mean, but I know that one for sure. And that's the event that I
okay, so when Spartacus was fighting the Romans,
the last battle
and he was defeated,
killed.
he's saying if he wasn't defeated, that maybe, yeah. So that that prolonged slavery, at least in that part of the world, that prolonged slavery, right? Because the Romans had
Well,
a
back
history.
then,
Well, I think a lot of civilizations did.
Romans were leading kind of the world. Um, I believe that would have triggered other rebellions. Other part of the that was the beginning, and it didn't grow because he was defeated, and all he had an army of slaves who were fighting for freedom, and since he was defeated, I mean they disappear. All the slavery that survived outside of Rome would have won. Rome would have been taken by slaves, and they would have released all the other slaves and trigger other events, another rebellions, another is as an example that they can all do it, and I could change reaction.
Okay. Okay. So, how many people are familiar with Spartacus here, other than obviously Johnny? How many other people are familiar?
I guess I know a little bit about it.
Oh my gosh! And you said that your world is small, so
Yes.
so who has a question? Well, the reason I asked that is who has a question for Johnny? Who has a question for Johnny? Somebody have a question? Sally?
I do.
Okay,
I
go
do.
ahead, Jamie. Go ahead, Jamie. Go ahead.
What would you do to help Spartacus win over the and defeat the Romans? What would you have done, Johnny?
I would have developed a better battle strategies, and I would have. I don't know why he didn't implement the catapults, because they were available back then, and he fought with armies that had catapults, but he
Maybe he
never
didn't have
built
time.
any. That would have changed a lot. Why he didn't? I guess I would have talked to him, and I would have
Well,
planned better battle strategies that would ensure victory.
yeah, you'd have to have learned. Yeah, you'd have to have learned ancient Greek though. You'll have to have learned ancient Greek
No, not
to
Greek.
talk to him.
Not Greek. Didn't speak Greek.
Latin. Okay, Latin. Whatever he spoke. I think. Never mind, John. Forget about it.
Okay, so the key point there is that Johnny always wanted to be a war strategist. Okay,
Yeah.
a tactician.
I wouldn't have guessed.
Okay,
I wouldn't have guessed that.
okay.
May I ask a question, please?
Go ahead, Cindy. Go ahead.
So, don't you think if the slave with Spartacus could have bring a new kind of slavery with Roman people if they won the war?
No.
What?
They were against slavery. They were against people using other people's as property, playing with our lives, and they were trying to change that.
Maybe just
Spartacus, I think, was the first one in history that we know of that he was saying that any life is as valuable as any other. Nobody has any power over anybody else. If one life doesn't have the same value of another, then it doesn't work. Was the first one to say that and trying to implement that ranks. I don't think that he would have gone.
No, I thought about it as a payback, so
No,
so the Roman can face the slavery themselves to see what harm they were doing to people.
Actually, when he was taking towns, he was liberating all the slaves. Oftentimes he had Roman Roman prisoners, and his followers, I mean Spartacus' followers, wanted payback, wanted to kill every last one of them, but he said no. We don't want to become the very thing we are fighting against. So we are not going to do like that. We are not what they say we are. We are not witches. So we want to be different. We want to make the difference against that. He only killed when he needed, necessary, not for pleasure, not for payback. It was only strategy. That's why I admire his.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you, Johnny. Yeah. Great. Thank you, Johnny.
Okay. Thank you so much, Johnny. Let's go to. Let me look at the list here, Johnny. Moyu. Mr. Moyu. So, what major event? You talked a little bit earlier about it, but what major event?
Yeah, I, especially as someone from Africa and from Somalia, one thing I wish it couldn't have happened was the colonization of Africa, especially uh, because of these reasons. The first thing is that colonization caused a hardship, suffering, and pain to the origin communities, to the communities who I don't know how to say it, who lived there before. For example, we heard all that stories that how how painful or maybe the kind of treatment those communities were subjected by their masters. For example, I heard that one they used to carry on their back of the masters of the colonizers. Also, if they wanted to pass through the wetland where the water is, they used to get those guys, the communities, and let them lie down so that they can step on them so that they can keep wet. They can keep dry. I mean, so it was a harsh treatment, and also their land was taken, everything was there. So another reason, because colonization was created the hatred between the communities, where now, even now, especially in rural areas, if they see the white man, they believe he is evil. He's wanted to take his land, their land, something like that, because they had that history passed down by their great great grandparents. And also because of the exploitation, the colonizers were they were taking the raw materials away, natural resources, and they just keep those communities poor and uneducated and something like that. Also, the mentality, colonization was created by dependency mentality, where up to now most African countries were subsidized by their master, their former colonizers, and many of them, whenever they get a problem, whenever they get into trouble, they look up to the colonizers and ask for help, whatever it is. So many people say that because we are so dependent to the former colonizers, former masters. And also the other problem was the colonizers were just created a World War II or something like that, and also created a war between the communities. Like, for example, and we had Somalia had a very severe war, very bad war with Ethiopia in 1977, because the way that the border was designated was not okay. Italy was colonized Somalia, and most of in the World War II, most Somalis were supporting Italians at that time. So when Italy was defeated, Britain we took over everything, and they just purposefully, on purpose, they give some Somali land originally, where the Somalis live, they give to Ethiopia, and that created kind of hostility between Ethiopia and Somalia, and not only between Ethiopia, but in many African communities. So because of that, also the loss of culture when they come here, the colonizers, I mean, Africans, we had a language, we had a culture, we had norms, and but by the time all those things were disappeared, and right now in many African communities, the only language they speak is the language for their master, like where, especially where the French colonized. So, and also the other reason why I don't like this, that some people they say economic problems they bring because they took the raw material, everything. Where people just we didn't have the way of life we used to. So, and so that's also another problem. And it's the other problem is that they say they brought some diseases where they had our own problem, and also we had our own problem. But because they come here, especially they say some sexually transmitted diseases were introduced by colonizers. For that reason, even now in my country, we had a civil war long time, and many people say that. Because, do you know why we had that civil war? Because Somalia had a war with Ethiopia, and from there it was 1997, 77, 70, 78, something like that. From there, because the government had that civil war, Somalia supported rebel army in Ethiopia, and also Ethiopians supported a rebel group with the Somali government. Through that, the Somali government at the end, just finally, were collapsed. So, yeah, that's why I'm against. I wish that it couldn't have happened.
Okay, thank you. Very, very. I think we could probably spend a lot of time just talking about this one subject, because I actually do believe very strongly that what you're bringing up is extremely important. Extremely important. Well, does anybody have a question for Moyu? I have a question, but does anybody else have a question for Moyu?
Yeah, I do.
Before I ask my question. Go ahead. Go ahead, Johnny.
Uh, colonization by who? And when do you think that began?
Especially in Africa, colonization by the West, by the Europeans, UK, France, Italy, also followed by Holland, which colonized, and also few like Spain, one country, I guess, Portuguese, one country. Yeah, colonized by the Europeans. I mean.
But you point out as a single event,
So,
and colonization by different countries. No, it didn't happen all at once, right? Maybe 1 year, one country, 100 years later, another. But you
No.
point out as a single event. So, colonization by who? Who started it?
Yeah,
In what year?
let me say this. I think I think I had a class, a history class, long time ago. Colonization. It was just started. It was 90, it was 1880 something, 84, where Europeans decided to colonize Africa. That started off. And the colonization has been lasted for 300, or I don't know, something like that, until just 60 years back. All Africans were under colony. Most of the colonizers in Africa were UK and France. France was the number one, and the UK was the second. And that was all organized, and it was systematic and organized by Europeans. And it was just like that after when we got independence, after UN was created. So yeah, colonization, it was not only 1 year, something like that, and it was organized, planned, and executed very well by those countries. And the plan was the decision to colonize Africa was reached in 1888, I guess, in Germany. That the meeting was held in Germany at that time.
yeah, so I guess what I heard, Johnny, from hey, Zobir, can you mute your microphone, please? Zobir, can you mute your microphone, please? Okay,
Hello.
hey, hello, how are you?
Fine, thanks. What about you?
Good, good. Yeah, we're actually in the middle of a class now. If you would like to join us, you're welcome to join us. But for right now, if you could do us a favor, please, and mute your microphone for just a few minutes while people are speaking, and then we'll give you the opportunity to also, give your feedback if you want. Okay. So, let me kind of respond a little bit to that dialogue between Moyo and Johnny, because I think it's important. So, in this topic, when we talk about colonization, we could talk about it's hard to find one specific event, right? You could talk about the Spanish going to Mexico, Montezuma, the Aztecs, right? When they were searching for gold. You could talk about the Portuguese. You could talk about the France, the British. Many countries. Italy, many European countries, right? In the past, in the 1400, 1500, 1600, they did this a lot, right? And this was their way of expanding their reach and getting resources, and you can see this throughout history, right? So it's hard, to me personally speaking, it would be hard to find a single event. Maybe there does exist one. It would be hard to find a single event. I don't know, but I do Moyu, I do agree. Something you said, I wrote down 4 points you brought up: loss of culture, conflict, we're robbing the resources, they're taking the resources and bringing diseases. These are, if you look at all countries where there's been, even in my country, right, North America, or not North America, in United States, okay, the people came and they killed Native Americans, right? They brought diseases, so, I mean, unfortunately, we live in a world that history has taught that if you're, stronger than somebody else, you take what you want, right?
Yep.
So unfortunately,
I have another.
And it has consequences. You're right. It does have. Hey, go ahead. Go ahead, Johnny.
Yeah. I mean, he was talking about preventing our continent. Back then, in 80 something, whatever, Africa wasn't the most powerful area in the world. Have technology, manpower, the resource prevent any kind of colonization. You could have been able to stop the Western to come there, then you would have seen coming there. Because Africans didn't know how to defend themselves. So I think colonization wouldn't happen anyway. Eventually, not by the Western, it would have been by the Eastern. So my question would be how? How would you prevent an entire continent to be colonized? What would have been your plan?
Yeah, I think what I'm talking about is not just the preventing, but I said I wish it couldn't have happened. Really, I wasn't there, and yes, at that time, Africa was not a powerful, although we had countries where the colonizers were unable to colonize, like Ethiopia. they had 2,000 years and something like that civilization, and they were at that time Ethiopians. They had a very strong, I don't know, king or something like that. They tried Italians and all of them, UK, but they didn't manage. Also, there are several countries, Ethiopia, and there are 4 countries or 3 countries which they were never colonized. So I think this question I said couldn't have happened, but there were those countries, or maybe if they had come together and decided to defend with with the help of the other communities like Somalia. That time we were not even a government, just we were nomadic society who lived by their tribe, something like that. We didn't have technology and so yeah, but with the help of those countries, maybe if we were united, we can help to do something about them, because even when they come here, when they landed, some of them just they faced a very strong resistance from the communities. So yeah, I think if we just maybe we could resist it to them.
So you will rely on number, right?
Okay.
So you will rely on
number and also whatever tools we had, because Ethiopians, I don't know if you know, but it's so big, and the country is so beautiful, so rich, and yet Italians tried with Somalis, even using Somalis, and both of them also UK tried, but they didn't succeed. They were never subjected to any colony because of the power they had. So Sierra Leone, there were 3-4 countries which had never had that problem. So if we were united, maybe we could do something about it. Who knows?
Okay. All right. Interesting. Interesting. Let's go. We have a few more people to go through, so let's go through Seni. Seni, did you want to say something? Seni, are you here? Hello. Okay, he might be away. Jamie.
Yes, sir. All right, Rick. Well, that's a very easy one. Actually, there are a couple, but the one I could think of the most is the Kennedy assassination. I mean, he was only in office for a couple years, but I think had he not been assassinated, he would have done a lot more for the country. I mean, he is considered one of the greatest presidents. What I would do to prevent the assassination is to convince him. I think the only reason that he was assassinated is that he was waiting. He won. I mean, his limousine did have was a convertible, but he wanted the top down so he could wait to the people. I would convince him to keep the top up so that so he wouldn't. There would be no chance for him to get shot. I think had he not been shot, then he could have done a lot more for this country than he did when he was alive, since he only had 2 years in office.
Who?
Okay. So
John
Kennedy.
John Kennedy.
Yeah. They actually had a series. I don't know if you watched it, Jamie. They had a series recently on CNN where they're going through the Kennedy. It was pretty interesting.
Yeah.
Very, very interesting.
Kennedy was shot in 1963, right?
Yeah.
November 22nd. November 22nd.
Yep.
Right.
And his brother was shot in 1968.
Yeah, and when she was only 43.
Yep.
Yeah, he was very young. Yeah.
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah, it's very actually a very sad story. Very sad story.
And yeah, I remember she was the youngest. Yeah, he was the youngest president elected in the U.S. history, right?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And his oldest son died in a plane crash that was named after the name of John was named. Died in very tragic history with that family.
And one of his brother was also killed, assassinated.
Yeah, Bobby Kennedy.
Yeah.
The family has died.
Yeah. Okay, so any questions for Jamie?
I have one.
Any questions?
I knew it, Johnny. Go ahead. I knew it.
Johnny's good with questions.
Oh,
yes, he is.
I heard a lot about the king. There was one shoot.
The magic bullet theory. No one's really sure about that, but I do think, my personal thing. The CIA was involved. I don't know, but I think Lyndon Johnson had a hand in it because vice presidency is one step away from the president, and if something happens to the president, the vice president becomes president. And B, he was killed in Dallas, and LBJ was from Texas. Maybe LBJ lured Kennedy to Dallas so he could be knocked off, and so he could take the top spot. So yeah, that's what I think. I think LBJ had a hand in it. But the magic bullet theory, I don't know. And the CIA, I don't know. I think it's mostly LBJ's fault.
Okay. Was that the end of the question?
No.
Yeah, was that it?
No.
What do you? Go ahead, Johnny. Go ahead.
What do you think the consequence? Apart of, he would have.
If he hadn't.
What are the change thing?
Yeah.
Like what?
Maybe he would have. Would try harder for world peace. Maybe worked on segregation a little more. Maybe try to get us out of Vietnam. There are a lot of things that he could have done. But unfortunately, he was only in 2 years.
No, I think that the change would have been. He was pretty much interested in space. Wanted to disclose everything
space
NASA
race,
was doing. that scene, perhaps space travel advancement.
Mhm. Or
You know,
earlier, yeah, earlier.
yeah, much earlier,
Yeah.
bigger projects. I think that would change.
hmm
Okay. All right. So I also have one quick question for you, Jamie.
Okay, okay, Rick.
Okay. So my question for you is, do you believe that if his son had survived, John,
Mhm.
that he would currently be, or he would have been one of our presidents?
Well, also Bobby wanted to be president too, but
Right.
maybe he would have won. I don't know if
So
JFK
let
won.
me change my question a little bit. Do you believe that a Kennedy as a president would be a good thing?
Well, I don't know. I mean, depends on the mindset. I mean, maybe another Kennedy would have gone along with JFK. Maybe they would have had their own ideas. But if they followed Kennedy's idea, maybe maybe another Kennedy would be interesting. I mean, we've had two Bushes, and we've had
Okay.
two Adamses.
Right.
We've had two Harrisons and two
Okay.
Roosevelts. So
So let me ask you one last question, then we'll move on. So what single accomplishment of Kennedy do you think was the most important while he was still alive?
easy, the Peace Corps.
The what? The Peace
The Peace
Corps?
Corps. Peace
Okay.
Corps.
Okay. I thought maybe you might say something about the Missile Cuban crisis, but okay.
Well, yeah, that's but you said single, but yeah, the Cuban Missile Crisis too. But you only said one.
Okay. Good. Okay, thank you, Jamie.
You're welcome.
Interesting. Thank you. Okay, let us go to, I guess, Sally. Did you want to tell us, and then we'll go to Amadeus. Sally, did you want to tell us what you think? And don't say the British leaving Hong Kong, okay?
Yeah, he would.
Probably it was a good thing for Hong Kongese.
Sally, what do you think? No.
What?
What single event in history do you think, if you could change it, would you change, if any, and why?
History?
Yeah, from a historical perspective, you know, what single event in history would you change and why?
Actually, just a small potato. I don't think I want to change the world.
You don't want to change anything in the world?
Yes, I don't want to change the world. I just small potato. Even though I have the power,
Oh my gosh!
I don't want to change anything about the world.
Oh my gosh! You and Mary are small potatoes, huh? Is that what you're saying?
What?
Well, Sully. I mean, you may think that you're a quote unquote small potato, but even people who've come from meager backgrounds have had a impact on history. I mean, Gandhi didn't strive for greatness, and look what happened to him. And George Washington, after George Washington left the presidency, all he wanted to do was go home, but he was needed once again. Yeah, a lot of people who don't strive for fame actually end up actually getting it. But so it's not up to us. It's up to fate what happens. And yeah, so small potato or not, you might maybe you become president of your country someday. Who knows? I don't know. So Sully, Sully, where are you from? Where are you from, Sully?
She's from Hong Kong.
Okay.
China.
Oh yeah, and for me being half British, I'm sorry. I'm sorry for what we did to you.
Well, no, anyway, I don't want to.
Yeah.
So I know Sully very well. Okay.
Yeah.
We met each other when I was in Hong Kong and China.
Oh really?
So yes. Yes. So we right, Sally. She took my candy from my hotel room. Okay.
Oh,
She ate all my chocolate in my hotel room. Okay.
Hey,
oh,
just
Sully,
attract
come
away.
on.
Don't be so mean. Don't you feel you are so mean? You just repeat the story again, again, and even to the
I know.
yeah,
strangers,
yeah,
they
yeah.
I will always repeat my story that you took my chocolate in my hotel room. Okay.
No way.
Yeah.
Okay. But
谢谢，
okay.
谢谢。
Okay.
你好，你好，你好，你好。
Okay. So small potato. Okay. All right, Sally. Okay.
Oh, dumpling.
So let's go to Seni. Seni. And then we'll go to Amadeus. Oh, you
Hello, I'm here. I'm back.
Go ahead, Seni. So what do you think? What event would you change and why?
Actually, I have 3 events.
Oh my gosh, tell us all
If I
3.
talk about them all.
Okay.
The first event is the colonization of the French people to Algeria.
Okay.
I would prevent the Algerian from being invaded by the French people. So the French people devastated Algeria, all the Algerian country, and all what came around, like Morocco and Tunisia, and even in Africa continent. So this way, from Europe to Africa, from Algeria's side, it was easy for them to get in the continent. So this is the first event. The second event is in the World War II. The German people slaughtered a lot of people, of Jewish people. So I would have stopped. I don't know how, but I would have stopped those people from getting slaughtered like that. The effect of slaughtering those people after the war. Now they occupied Palestine. It's like the war never ended. The Second World War II or one never ended for the Jewish people or for the Muslims, either way. Now, right now, in Europe, there's no, they live in peace, but in Arabic country, Jewish people and Muslim people used to live in harmony and peace. Now they're not in peace and harmony like they used to be. So I would have prevented that from happening. And the last event, and this is a big event, the nuclear war on Japan and the place of Nagasaki and Hiroshima. I would have prevented that from happening.
Okay.
I still don't know how I would do that. I wouldn't do taking the airplane off, or maybe I would go to the president and talk to him and try to reason with him. No, don't do that. Maybe there's another solution. Don't kill off those people because of the war. This is what I truly want to prevent at all. Just 3 kind of events.
Okay. Okay.
Thank you.
So very, very interesting. Let me ask you a question about the first thing you said, because it's kind of related to what Moyu also said. So do you believe that, do you think, let me ask you this way. Do you think that so obviously you believe that the French colonization of Algeria was a mistake, but do you believe that there was also a positive aspect to the French culture? Do you think there were some positive things? Or do you think it was all negative?
Yeah, it was all negative. I'm sorry to say that, but it was all negative. You know what? We were
You gotta go work.
divided. We had diversity between Amazigh and the Muslim. You know, the diversity between Arabic and Amazigh. It was a very special mixture of people, and they took off that from us. It was very wonderful.
So what I hear you saying, and I'm just trying to make sure I understand this correctly, is what you're saying is that, the people, by nature, people will get along with each other by nature, right? They'll be
Yes.
tolerant,
Yeah.
respectful of each other. But when
Yeah.
you bring in politics and you bring in other things, that messes things up, right?
Yes, of course.
Okay.
And the effect, the effect of the Democrat in Algeria, we always, you see, it's like we are invited in sort of a new colonization, the democratic here in Algeria. We are Muslim, and we don't get along with them, with the rules they are giving us, because we already have our rule. This is very difficult for us.
Okay. I think it's interesting, again, maybe because of our office that we now have in Tunisia, and I've been learning over the past couple of years a lot more about the Islamic faith, and also about, just in general, Muslim majority countries, whether North Africa or other places. And it's very interesting to me that in a lot of these countries, especially for us people in the West, like, maybe myself in the United States, and other people in the West, we make an assumption that people in general don't get along. But actually, if you look at historically, a lot of people, they practice different faiths, Jewish, Christian, Muslim, other faith, and they actually got along very well. They were neighbors. They treat each other with respect, right?
Even in Algeria, we used to live with Jewish people with no problem. They used to live in peace, no problem at all. I also want to add something. In the ancient history, they say if you are in Morocco and you want to travel to Mecca, there was no visa, no paper to travel from Arabic continent to another country in the other continent. You go as you want. You do whatever you want. No problem at all. No, it's not the same. It's like we are not living in harmony like we used to do.
No, I think this goes back to what you said, what you were saying yesterday. I think yesterday you were saying, or maybe the day before, you were saying that if you could go back in time, you would go back to the past because things were simpler, right?
Yes. That's why.
Yes,
I want to add something else, if you let me. The effect of living in harmony, even if we don't have the technology that we have right now, even if that costs the technology to be out, I don't care, because as long as we live in peace, that's why I want to do.
Right.
That's what I want for us, for all of us, not just Arabic or Muslim country, for all the world.
Yeah. No, I completely understand that. And I wish that one day we have that too, to be honest with you. I hope one day we have that. I really, really do. Okay, thank you for sharing that. Anybody, Johnny, you have a question? Or Moyu, any of you, or Sally, anybody have? Yeah, go ahead. Go ahead.
Sounds to me you want to have democracy. Is that true?
I would have democracy, then have nothing at all. I will be sincere with you. I say it's not good for us, but it's better than nothing.
You say that democracy is not good?
You understand me? Hello? Yes. But I said the democracy is not good, but it's better than nothing.
Well, what? Let me follow up. Um, what form of government you think is the right? I want to be careful with this. What form of government do you think is the right form of government? Do people should they just live without? I mean, what would be the form of government you think is the best? How should people live in a country?
No, no, it's not. It's not about a government exactly. It's not about the government. It's about the person itself. The
Okay.
democracy. I think democracy is good if the people who
Okay,
are
I got it.
ruling
I got it. I got it.
democracy are good.
I
But
got it.
if you
I got
meet
it.
someone, yeah, you got it. That's what I meant.
Yeah. No, and that makes sense. So what you're saying is that when you have a country where people are maybe not corrupt, where they are actually trying to help the people of the country, then that's what you're saying is a good thing. But when you have a
Yeah,
country where people are robbing people, or they are corrupt, or they are not looking out for the best interests of the people, then that's not a good thing, I think.
yeah.
Yeah,
Even
yeah,
if you are a Muslim, even
yeah,
if
yeah.
you are a
Right,
Muslim ruler, you're not. You're not
right.
doing a good.
Yeah, understand.
Thank you for
Yeah,
understanding.
no, that makes sense. And okay, so we're gonna wrap up, but before we wrap up, I'm gonna go ahead and share real quickly. Um, okay, so I think to me the single biggest event, and I was watching something the other day about Ronald Reagan and the fall of the Berlin Wall. I think it was 1989 was the year that it happened. The reason why I think that was a major event was because it started a series of events in places like Poland, Romania, Czech Republic, Hungary, and basically, Eastern Europe, which used to be under, communism, and people did not have choices to, do what they wanted to do. And there was what we call a police state. Um, I think that that's something I feel like, that was a major, major event, because when that happened, it set up, I think it was Reagan said, Gorbachev, tear down this wall. And it was about the Berlin Wall that separated East Germany and West Germany. And that set into series, a bunch of events, or that set in place a bunch of events that changed world history, right? Because if we look at the situation, again, all these countries right after that started, electing their own government. They became their own nation. They were not controlled by what at the time was the Soviet Union. So to me, that would be, and I don't think there'd be anything would change, because I think it happened. Okay, and I think it was good that it happened. So for me, that would be it.
I didn't.
Any question?
Yeah. Are you talking about the Holocaust?
No. I'm talking about 1989. President Reagan, who was the president, was it? Yeah, 89. This is right before George Bush became. So right before that, he went to the Berlin Wall. This is when East Germany, West Germany were divided. I'm sorry, East Berlin, West Berlin. Okay, well, East Germany, West Germany. Okay, there were two. It was considered two separate countries, right? And before that, all the governments in Eastern Europe, Bulgaria, Poland, Czech Republic, they were all communist governments. Okay, right. So to me, the fall of communism was a major world event that changed many, many, many things. Okay.
Want to prevent that?
No, I want to support it. I'm not gonna, I don't want to prevent something. I mean, if I could prevent something, yeah, I would have prevented, I think that there's a lot of things I would have wanted to prevent, but there's not one specific thing. There's been genocide, things that happened in Bosnia, Rwanda, here, I mean, the Native Americans in my country, they were destroyed and by people coming from Europe, including my own ancestors, right? My ancestors came from Ireland and Germany, okay? And we destroyed a lot of the native people living in the United States, and it was wrong. What they did was wrong, you know. I've never liked the idea that just because you're superior or stronger that you should take something. I don't like that idea. I think that, that's not the best attributes of mankind. It's just because you're stronger, you take things. I don't agree with that. But the most significant event to me was, that's the fall of communism and the Berlin Wall, specifically, because I could point to a specific date for it.
I guess it's not clear to
Does that make
me.
sense?
I guess it's not clear to me. You could.
Okay, well, I wouldn't change that because that was a good thing.
What things you would have changed?
Boy. Well, there's so many things. I mean, I've listened to all of you, and I think what things would I have changed? I think. Okay.
You think the Holocaust must happen? Needs to happen?
Well, I have mixed feelings about that. Let me tell you why I have mixed feelings about that. Because I think sometimes in our history, hopefully we learn from them. I'm not saying that the loss of 6 million Jews or 100. I mean, there were a lot. It was more than 6 million. I think 80 million people died in World War II. Russians. A lot of people died. A lot of people. It wasn't just Jewish, but there were a lot of people, of course, that were Jewish that died. But war in general is of course not a good thing in terms of the impact on people. Okay, but I think specifically, I think that it was the tragedy, just like what happened in China during World War II. The Japanese treated the people of China really, really, really bad. Killed hundreds of thousands of people. Okay, raped women, okay, hundreds of thousands of women, okay. So none of those things are good, but I think sometimes hopefully we learn, and that's why. Okay, so we have something that in English we call a teachable moment, okay, and a teachable moment is something that we should learn from. It teaches us something, okay. The problem is sometimes people forget their history. Sometimes that's not a bad thing. Okay, let me give you guys the example right now. Let's say China and Japan. Here's a really good example. Okay, there are many people in China, older people, that resent Japan for what they did in World War II. Okay, right?
Let me ask you this.
Okay, but most younger people.
I mean to interrupt you.
Go ahead.
So that we can.
Go ahead.
What is it? The thing. So there is one thing or thing was thanks to the Holocaust that would have happened in any other way. That a Holocaust must happen in order for us to learn that we wouldn't have learned in any other way ever. What is it?
Well, so I think what it taught us is when we look at what happened in the concentration camps, and we look at what happened, the severity of taking a whole population, ethnic cleansing, right? and the attempt by Hitler to do ethnic cleansing in Germany, or not Germany, Europe or the world, right? Um, his goal, right, was to eradicate, okay, exterminate, right? So, in our history, and I think in world history, there has never been, at least as far as I know, such a how do I say it? Uh, Planned, orchestrated, thought out approach to eliminate a whole race of people. Okay, there are things that happen in other countries, yes. Okay, but where you have what he did, and the fact that he was able to get away with it. Okay, he was able to do it. So to me, that singular event in our world history hopefully teaches us something that we should never allow it to happen again. Okay, that's what it teaches us, is that something like that is so, I watch a lot of movies about, documentaries about those times, and the idea that, and you can see how that relates to other situations. Going back to what Sunny was saying, in Algeria, go back to what Moya was saying in parts of Africa. Okay, when you treat people as something lower than yourself, right? You treat them as being not human. Okay, you dehumanize them. It allows you to do things that normally you wouldn't do to other people. You wouldn't treat your family that way. Okay. So you start to look at people as something being different. Okay. So I think what if it hadn't have happened that way, we would not have the same level of I guess determination to prevent it from happening again. Okay. That's why you.
Something like that.
Go ahead.
Does those prevent those events prevent exactly what is happening right now in the world? We still have war everywhere in the world.
Yeah. No,
we still have people in peaceful places doing so things very horrible to other peaceful people.
No, and
I think something's wrong here.
Go ahead.
I it's like a question. I think something's wrong here. Something it's always wrong running around here, all the world, not just a few countries.
Oh no,
now it's countries.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, I agree with you that just because history should teach us something doesn't mean that we, history is a teacher. We're not always the best students. Okay. Right?
Yes, of course.
If we think of history as a teacher, we're not always the best students. In other words, we don't always pay attention, and we don't do our homework. Okay, we don't. So I think it's just part of being people, human. We're not. We have our faults. Some people have short memory. They forget about these things. Okay. To be honest, some of it comes down to what we're taught growing up. I mean, we talked about this a few months ago about our morals and values. Okay, what's important to us, and I think that there are things that happen today that we shouldn't be doing because we should have learned from the past, but still they happen, right?
Yeah.
So the best we can do, Sunny, in my opinion. Go ahead.
You said, I guess, a trigger permission.
Are you one of those who that if we don't remember our past?
I think so. I think yes. Yes.
But the case here is they are remembering that event and they're doing it again.
Yeah. No, and that's a valid point. That's a valid point. Just because you remember it doesn't mean that you necessarily do the right thing. I think it's remembering it, recognizing, and having the morals and the values and the strengths to prevent it from happening again. Okay, it's not just enough to remember something. Okay, but it's what does it do to you when you remember it? If I remember something that happened in the past that I did a wrong thing, and I don't feel guilt about doing the wrong thing, I don't feel shame for doing the wrong thing, then I'm probably not gonna do the right thing in the future. If I did something wrong in the past and I'm happy with that, then I'm probably not going to correct that. But if I said, hey, you know what, that was bad, I should not have treated this person this way, or I should not have made this decision, I hurt people, okay, then I'm probably not going to do it again. Okay. Right?
Yeah, this is the idea.
Yeah.
I guess I get this question
Okay.
from
Exactly.
from movies where people have memory loss. They don't remember the past, and some other come along and say, "Oh, you don't remember your past. You are meant to repeat it. You will do the same thing that you did in the past."
Well, but I don't think it's just memory by itself. I think again, just remembering it's the values we have, right? The values I was taught is that you don't hurt people, right? You don't go outside and beat up on somebody that's weaker than you. Okay, you don't go outside and hit. Okay, that's a value I have. Okay. So the memory by itself is one thing, but unless you combine the memory with a sense of values and morals and the difference between right and wrong, memory by itself isn't enough.
Okay,
right?
So you are
It's not.
on the other side saying that even
I'm
if you
sorry,
remember,
if
you
we,
can
if
still
we,
do it.
Oh yeah, yes.
we have a piece missing here in this small debate. If I am a bad person, you understand me? We are talking about the past and how going back to past and change something for good. Maybe we should have someone here who is thinking about the bad, what I should do to go back in the past and make things worse to see how those people will think from now on.
Well, you mean to have somebody
Well,
go
okay.
to have somebody do something worse?
Yeah.
Oh no, I don't like
That's
I
the
don't.
thing.
No. I you know what, Sene, to be honest with you, I believe very, very, very strongly that everybody, I don't, I never try to judge anybody because that's not for me to judge anybody. I'm
Yeah.
not in a position where I should ever judge anybody. I can only tell people my own values, my own morals, and then if they choose to listen and understand, that's up to them. But I believe that we should all strive or find ways to create positive change. If I don't agree with something, there's a lot of things I don't agree with. Okay, if I don't agree with something, I have different ways of addressing that. And my way of addressing something I don't agree with is to try and find some kind of positive solution for that. Okay, because to me, again, all people, to me, deserve certain things. All people deserve the right to be respected. Okay, I might not agree with them, but they still deserve the right to be respected. Okay, so to me, you create change by being a positive influence. Right.
I have a question for you.
Yeah,
What you
right.
just said. So
Right.
you think that perhaps
Yeah.
there is a time machine, the government should control its usage? Should it be in the hands of the government, private company? If you think that the government should have our control over that, do you think it should be under a democracy and people should decide how that time machine will be used?
Well, if you're asking me, I don't know the answer to that. I actually have to go now because I have to go take care of. Johnny, I'll leave it at I'll leave it up to you if you want to continue. You have Babuti here. Somebody's playing music.
I'm watching the Bush funeral. Sorry.
Okay. So I'll leave it up to you, Johnny. Babuti has just joined us. If you want to continue with the people that you have here, that's fine. I've got to go because I've got to go feed these little baby possums. Okay. So.
Okay, thank you, Richard.
But I'll leave. If you guys want to continue, it's up to you, Johnny. What do you want to do?
I also have to go. Want to speak?
Okay, so if you guys, Babuti's just joined us. So Hiwa and Babuti and Jirkarn, if you guys want to speak, I've got to step away, but you're in good hands with Johnny. Jamie, I'll be right back. Well, I won't
Don't
be
forget
back.
me.
Yeah,
Don't forget me.
yeah, Jamie. Yes. Well, you got to stay here, Jamie. You can't pop in and out.
Sorry.
Okay.
I will.
Right.
Okay, so Babuti, how are you?
Thanks, Rick.
Hi, Jamie. How's it
Hi,
going?
Hiwa. I'm good. How you doing?
Glad to see you again.
Good to see you
What are we
too. Long
supposed to
time.
talk about?
If you could go back in time, what would it be? And what do
If I could go to the time machine,
you-
I
what were the
didn't catch it
consequences?
quite, please. Can you repeat it, please?
If you if you could go back in time, what would it be, and what do you think the consequences would be? How do you think it would change?
Wow, that's a tough question, you know. If I could, which is impossible, if I could build a time machine. What am I gonna change, or what am I gonna do? What do you mean?
Okay.
Can you narrow it down, please?
Let me explain to you. In the world history, we have certain kind of events that were major event in history. For instance, the Holocaust, Hitler, World War II. We have assassination of presidents, figures, colonization of country, invasion of country.
Okay, I think that's
You
the point.
know? So
I
if you
think it's the
could,
point.
if you could go back in time and change one of these world event, which one would be, and why would you choose that big event? What are the consequences that you think it's gonna have?
If I could change something, when I go back into the time, definitely it's going to be the World War II, because I think the deadliest war that has ever happened between human beings is the World War II. I think more than 50 million people has been killed and massacred during this war, unfortunately. So I think it's gonna be my priority to change it and stop it.
Good, Sarah.
Good luck.
And what do you think the consequences will be if you prevent those people to?
The consequence, so it's prevent from a lot of murder, a lot of people being killed, starved, and as you know, I think the World War II postponed the development of the world at least for 100 years, and destroy a lot of things, a lot of human intelligence, a lot of I don't know. If you think about it, there would be a lot of consequences if we stopped World War II.
Yes.
A lot of country would be in a better condition,
Better
if we
condition.
stop that. Yeah, exactly.
It's okay. Anybody have any question for Hiwa?
Apparently, no.
No one has a question for Hiwa. I have a couple of. So Hiwa,
Okay.
one of the positive consequences. That's something that we were talking before with Rick. One of the positive consequences of the Holocaust is that because of the Holocaust, we have space programs, can develop rockets, We have the ONU, right? We can set the human rights. Now we have these laws that says how wars should be managed, how prisoners should be treated, and communism, stopped in Europe. Um, there was a lot of progress,
I
a lot
see
of
what you're going.
quick progress. And one of the
Yeah.
biggest impact of the World War II is the growth of the United States and the transcendence of the U.S. as the most powerful country in the world. That's the consequence of World War II. So if you prevent World War II, you will prevent those things from happening. Not only from people being killed, but also preventing progress of space programs, the development of the new technology, the USA becoming the most powerful country in the world, the communists from expanding
Yeah,
their
I know.
empire. Now, so you still think that it
Yeah.
would have been
I
better?
cut it, but yeah, absolutely, because it has maybe some advantages based on your opinion, but the disadvantages much more. It's uncomparable. For example, you can equal all of the dead, more than 50 million people, to the progress of a country. In addition, 100 years ago, Albert Einstein has developed everything that we have right now, from the nuclear, for example, power, or anything relevant to missiles, because physics and chemistry and mathematics already been used, in for beneficial of the society. But the only thing that grows in this world, what missiles and aircraft and something that hurt people. So definitely, the positive and advantage of this war is negligible. When you compare it to the distraction and all of the harmful things that occurred in human beings. Yeah.
Okay. Well, uh, rockets technology were developed because of the war. Needed something, and they developed rocket, and that was the beginning of the
Yeah.
space program after. But before the war, there was no rocket technology. There was not um, atomic technology or nuclear technology, because that was something that these generals wanted to have in order to develop new weapon. Um, we wouldn't have
Yeah.
anything
Tarek,
nuclear right now if it
I,
weren't for
I,
that war.
yeah. Yeah, sorry to interrupt, but as I told you, for example, missile is one of the consequences of third law in Newton, and nuclear power is the consequence of equal that Einstein has discovered. So it has nothing to do with the war. I think we can discover things and develop in a peaceful society, in peaceful environment without the war. Maybe it speed up a little bit the process of building missile or something like that. But we cannot say that if the World War II or World War One hasn't happened, those things wouldn't develop. I can say that if those war hasn't happened, definitely the world would be more progress and developed compared to the if it doesn't. Uh,
I understand what you're
I
saying.
don't know if you
Understand.
quite catch it or not. Yeah.
Any question for?
Yeah. For example, Michael Faraday. Yeah. Yes.
Go on.
You can just right now, United States is very developed. It's progressing in a very high rate, without having any war. Uh, it's not quite right. For example, South Korea, or I don't know, Japan, they without war getting developed, and Japan after war become very developed and advanced country, you know, and it had nothing to do with the war. I think people who, what can I say, driving the war, they just want to sell their missiles and I don't know, they want to make money out of it, you know. People who are a fan of the war. I don't agree with that whatsoever. I'm completely against that.
And we have Moment.
I think all of them are unfortunately our listener.
Yes, hello.
So,
Oh, thank God.
Hello, today I would like to listen only.
okay, that's
It's
okay.
difficult for me. Yes,
Okay.
but I have share a little. I need to share a little.
Hello.
If I change something,
Mm-hmm.
the outcome of the world is
Mm-hmm.
different. The past is part, and I would be willing to change it. Only my outlook, but others will have different ideas. Okay.
Can you make some clarification, please? Alternate. Uh, Jericho, please
Huh?
elaborate on your answer or your question. I don't know. Elaborate on it, please. I'd like to know.
Oh, okay. But for me, okay, if I change something, the outcome of the world, I think is different. The part is part is what history, and I would be willing to change it.
Ah, okay. I got it. So you
Okay.
say the past is past, okay? There's
Yeah.
nothing we can do about it, and so it's a hypothetical question, you know, because theoretically it's impossible to go to the past because it makes a lot of paradox. You know, one of them is, for
Yep.
example, I can go back to the past and kill my grandpa, you know, and it will it will
Why
completely
would you want
mess
to kill your
up.
grandfather?
Yeah.
Yes.
No, I say it's paradox, you know? For example, time machine has built, imagine, I can go back to the 1,000 years ago and kill my grandpa, I don't know, you know, and it can destroy
Yeah,
my
if you kill
ancestors, you know?
your grandfather, you wouldn't be here.
Yeah, it can lead to destruction of myself, you know, but it's impossible, it's paradox. I don't think it's gonna happen, you know?
Well, there are theories
Yeah.
Okay, I
that
got it. Yeah,
Yeah.
okay, thank you.
says that you can avoid paradoxes. There are many ways
Yeah,
how that
I know.
can be
It's
done.
hypothetical question.
Um, right? Let's say thanks
Yeah.
to Moment, we don't
This
have her
this topic was
wrapped.
a bit deep. Yeah, I think so.
We also have Jirakan. Wanna say something, Jirakan?
Uh-huh. No, I have no idea. I would like to listen today.
Okay.
Yeah, I think it's difficult. It's
Yeah, it is
difficult question to
your
me.
yeah, to choose just one topic, Johnny, and one thing. And yeah, I mean, like the crucifixion, the crucifixion, maybe, or what?
There has
I
been a
was
lot of
also gonna
crucifixion.
pick. I would have helped. I would have. Well, the main one, Jesus. Um, I would also help the Jews. You know, escape from the Holocaust. I would have hidden the Jews since I have a lot of Jewish friends, and I've always been anti-Nazi. So
Did you talk
yeah,
about
hidden the
biblical
Jews.
events?
Protecting the Jews. Then Holocaust. The Holocaust. I would have helped. I would have
Oh,
helped prevent the Holocaust or help more people escape. Help people escape or hidden.
Uh,
and what do you think the
Players.
So
consequences would have been?
if you were able to go to the past, you change the Holocaust, huh?
Probably. I don't know. To tell the truth.
What do you think would
I'll
change?
just there'd be more Jews.
What else?
That's a very good question, Johnny. I have no idea what would change.
Well, in order to know what
I really don't know
what would have
change.
changed, I think you need to understand. We need to understand what we got from them, what we got from the Holocaust. Like I was mentioning before, have the space technology, have nuclear technology, have the ONU. That's the human rights. That if we didn't have the World War II,
Yeah.
we wouldn't have all those things. So if you change and you prevent the Holocaust to happen, those things from happening, not only saving life, but also how we wouldn't have cell phones for instance. We wouldn't have internet for instance. We wouldn't have gone to the moon. We wouldn't have technology to have satellites, B cables. Would have been pretty much untechnological right now.
Yeah.
Would have been a very different world.
Exactly.
So, Stark, do you have any background in the science 100
What do you
years
think?
ago?
That's so far so good, huh?
What?
Sorry. Nothing. It's talking my father.
Stark, I said that do you have any background knowledge about 100 years ago when Einstein, Heisenberg, I don't know, Schrödinger, and these kind of scientists has left before the war beginning, and they wrote a lot of article which has changed the universe forever. Do you have any?
I am. I am part of it.
More than 90% of the knowledge that we have today as a science, it developed 100 years ago before the war even beginning. For example, Einstein wrote a lot of article, and they published it, and it included the general relativity and special relativity, or I don't know, EMC2, and everything that we have right now 100 years ago has begun, and the war hasn't started yet, okay? So you cannot say that the consequence of war was that development and advance and progress.
But it did.
Did you understand what I said, Sark?
Yes.
Yeah.
They needed
mechanic quantum special.
Yeah, the reason why we have space today and possible, they needed a source of energy to power their rockets. They wanted to have a rocket that would go from Berlin to London. They didn't have enough powder, have enough chemical repellents. They needed to have a source of energy that will be so powerful, power a rocket from one continent to London. And they were looking at how to come up with new elements.
Yeah.
And then they came across with Einstein's theory about energy. And that triggered some investigation about how to create energy from splitting atoms. Einstein was not involved in that. He didn't want to get involved, but they were using his equations to create some, and they did. But they couldn't complete it because they didn't have enough
and
time.
Mercury was the one. Yeah.
So after they lost,
the lady
those
named,
scientists were
Mercury.
taken. Those scientists were taken to the U.S. They began the Manhattan Project. That is the nuclear advancement. So it all began with World War II. Einstein's equations were around for
So
many
you
years before
imagine
that,
that
but they
if
didn't do
America,
anything about
United States, Stark, imagine that United States had spent some money, dedicate some budget for these scientists and gather them together in order to work on something that how we can go to the space, to the moon, for example, how we can make energy out of the matter, okay? Definitely they gonna lead the same thing that we have right now. It has nothing to do to the war, you know. You say that the war, one of the consequences of war was a lot of development, progress, or anything else, you know. But I do not agree with that because, as I told you before, the World War One began. You know, a lot of progress has made, and by what can I say, by the scientists. You know, even general relativity and special relativity, and I don't know, quantum mechanics. You know, and everything. For example, when the Edison had discovered and built a light, you know, the bulb, some kind of special bulb, it has nothing to do with the war, you know. And I think if the war hasn't happened, the world goes even faster than the world happened. You know, I don't know how to express. It's very difficult. Yeah. Understood, Stark?
Yeah, I understand. I just think that many have to advances us, and that's fine. Um, and yes, maybe we come up with the content like have
Yeah.
today later. My point is today wouldn't be where we are today. Remember that.
Definitely, we would become more progressive, I think, and advance if the World War One or Two hasn't happened. Definitely, in my opinion. And as I told you, all of the equation, all of the advance and progress has been made before the war. You know, all of everything, every single one has been made before the war. The everything that war has created was the missile, you know, and the missile, as I told you, is a consequence of the third law in Newton, which has lived more than 200 years ago. I don't know, you know, and I think the scientists figured out definitely uh, with the existence of the war or not, you know.
All right. So I have to go now. I want to thank you, Hiwa, for here. Thank you, Jikran.
Thank you.
Rick, I know you're not around, but
Sorry,
thank
I
you
gotta.
anyway. Thank you,
Thank
I'd
everybody.
like to
you.
know the time of the class. Okay, start.
Okay, bye bye. Take care.
Bye
You
bye,
have a
You
nice
Jikran.
too.
night or day.
Yes, you can see
Yes,
the
start.
time
Yeah.
on the
I
website. It
gotta.
will be published. I'll update perhaps on Monday or Tuesday.
Yeah,
And
I'm living in Iran. So,
Okay.
can you tell me where are you from, Stark?
I'm from Argentina.
Argentina. Oh, South America. So we have a lot of time zone difference. I'm from Iran, you know. So when do we have class, please? You on a morning, maybe I'm coincide with the after the dusk, based on my time zone. Is that correct?
Well, like I say,
I'm living in the Middle East.
you can check where you will time. You also that you can use to convert that time to you. Always know what time is
Ah,
gonna be for
okay.
you. So you can
Okay,
always,
okay. So how many times the class is going to be held?
we have
How
we
many
have
times in a week?
sessions on Wednesdays, Thursdays, Fridays, and Saturdays.
Oh, it's perfect. Okay, okay, okay. Thank you very much, Stark. I'm not gonna bother you. Okay, thank you very much.
Okay. Bye
Yeah, I
bye
appreciate your help.
everyone. Take care.
You have a nice day. Bye.
Bye bye. Me too.